Hello YouTubers, this is Grimweird, and I'm coming back at you with more Enigmatica 2 Expert Mod Pack playthrough action for Minecraft 1.12.2, and this is version 1.75 of Enigmatica 2 Expert, which my first playthrough was 1.68, and there have been some changes. So anyway, let's see what I'm doing. Just gonna take a quick moment here to show some dragon hunting off. I know that's something that a lot of modded players, if they haven't played Ice and Fire, haven't had a lot of experience fighting dragons. And I really enjoy it, so I thought I'd show some. So basically, since episode 1, which was a recap of my first few days, I've got my base down here by this pyramid. One of the things I wanted was to make sure I got some sand and some cactus. Cactus I'm going to need for green pigment. You can furnace it cook it in a furnace into cactus green dye. And I was really finding a need for green dye for things like circuit boards and a few other things, and I didn't want to use up all my green mystical flowers. So I, moused over, found a desert way off in the distance that you can see between the ring of the flying squid and the hang glider. I sort of moseyed my way on up here to this village, and I then picked up just a whole bunch of sand. I picked up 3,200 sand just for kicks and giggles. So now I should have plenty of sand for anything that comes my way. And I also picked up some cactus. I don't know if cactus works in a garden cloche, but I picked up, a couple dozen cactus, and I can try and grow more. I also saved myself a teleport point with my brown magic on my cobalt pickaxe. I saved that so I could teleport back there as soon as I checked to see if the cactus works in the garden cloche. So along the way I killed a couple of dragons above ground, and then I also found one big fire dragon nest underground. I did get a, let's see, where is it? It's not it. Yeah, that's not it. I did get a bronze dragon egg, so I have had a bronze dragon before. It's not my favorite color. It's sort of like a weird brownish yellow. Not a huge fan of that. But I have also got this couple Neptunium, a Plutonium. What else did I get? I got just whole bunches of stuff. I found another peace candle, which prevents spawning in a 3-chunk radius. So that's a handy thing to have. I got that at a village. Finding some empowered stuff, which is nice. And yeah. Oh, I got another Californium, which is good. That's the top of the line RTG for nuclear craft. So I'm definitely going to make that into another portable power source there. I guess that's sort of the main things I got. Oh, and I guess the other thing is I've got 895 gold nuggets, which, gold nuggets, schmold nuggets, right? But, when you get 895 of them, well, crap, that's almost 100 bars of gold. And I also got a bunch of about 80 emeralds from that fire dragon underground one where I got the bronze dragon egg. That was a stage 5, and it had a bunch of emerald ore in the walls of the cave. So things are going good. And then you'll also notice on my wavering path that I swung by through a jungle on my way back. Now, there's two things in a jungle that you're probably going to want if you're a completionist in Enigmatica 2 Expert. Number one is you want to capture a couple of ocelots, or at least one ocelot, and tame it into a cat. So here's a golden lasso with an ocelot, and here's another one, just in case I screw up the first one. So I'll be trying to tame those into cats. That's for a quest where they cough up hairballs. And then the other thing you're going to want in a jungle is the probably a jungle bees for if you want to finish forestry and make the apiarist's armor. You need a bunch of silky combs from jungle bees. I'm going to pass on that one. I did that last time, and it was a whole lot of trial and trouble for some armor that I would have worn. So I'm probably going to skip that one. But I did want to pick up some cats. They're nice to sort of cage on top of a hopper or something, and just let them cough up stacks and stacks of hairballs over, dozens of hours of gameplay. And there's actually a few good things in there. You can get rubies and some other fun stuff. But the main reason I've stopped to look here real quick was so talking about dragon hunting. This is the scanner from Scannables or Scannable, and it's one of the getting started quests in your book. So as soon as you have a little bit of materials and the ability to power up armor, it's a handy thing to have. If we hold it and shift right click, you can see that you can make different modules for it and put them in there. So I like to have a couple of ranges in there as soon as I have a few ender pearls to spare. And then I like the scanner module block. So here I've got a pile of silver. I also like chest, lithium ore for finding nuclear craft super veins for ores, and then piles of gold. And if you haven't found any dragons yet, you can do the piles. So you can just create your own with 2 nuggets and 2 nuggets. Create your own and use the and click on them with the card in your hand, not the scanner, but the card to initiate the card to find those. But let's take a look at what that does. And so if we scan here for, this is pile of silver, you can see that below me, if we take a look, there are a couple of piles of silver. And just out of curiosity, we might not be in range, but let's say take out one of those and then throw in chests too. See if we're in range still. Oh yeah. So there's, a few piles of silver and chests. And then let's take a look at just chests alone. Take out the piles of silver. So now we're just configuring, looking for chests alone. And there you can see we've got a couple dozen chests down there. And it's a long one. That fire one that I found earlier looked like maybe a couple layers had spawned on top of each other. And this one maybe even looks like 2 or 3 layers spawned on top of each other. There's probably only one dragon down there, but it's definitely worth taking a look at. So anyway, I'm going to dig down there, and there's not going to be much to see when I fight the dragon, because with the laser gun, I just make a little hole till I find the place, and then I shoot it through the wall. So there's not going to be much of a battle, but I will show you a bit of the aftermath. Be right back. Okay, so I've sort of dug down here towards what I'm scanning, and you can see I've sort of broken into a roof. This is too high for an approach, so we're going to back off a bit and keep digging down back this direction some, and I'll be right back. Okay, we've worked our way out to stone and diorite, and if we scan now, you can see we're down here more level with the piles of silver. So we're going to go ahead and try and peek our head in there and see if we can spot the dragon. One big problem I'm running into is that I spent a lot of torches going after that fire dragon earlier. So I've only got 22 torches left, which is going to be sort of a pain for trying to clear this place out. And keep it lit and keep me from being attacked by new spawns as I loot everything. But let's just get a peek on in here a bit more, see if we can spot that dragon. Alright, and I did see it over on the left. just going to try and clean these guys up. It was asleep, so we're just going to try and clean things up a bit more here. So there's our huckleberry, and we're just going to launch into it. Now I can shoot through walls here, so we're going to try and keep hammering away at it. Doing about 20, 21 per hit. And this guy probably has like around 400 or 500 hit points, I would guess. So it does take a few hits. But I can shoot him through the wall. It's just not always easy to see his hitbox. But he's pretty big, so... Oh, and he's dead. Get that blizz out of the way. Alrighty, so now there's a whole bunch of monsters down there to clean up. Skeletons and bats and what have you. But here you have it. So now if we scan again, this is for... What is this for? This is for chests. So that is a whole lot of chests to sort through. You can see they're even embedded up in the walls. So this is going to take me probably an hour just to dig through all these chests and collect a bunch of the silver. If I bother to pick up all this silver. Like I said, one problem is I only have 22 torches, so things will be spawning on me while I look around. But it shouldn't be too bad if I space the torches out. Anyway, I will pause right here, and I'll show you if we found anything good. Be back in a second. Okay, so I got most of the room cleared out of monsters. Still lots of bats flying around, but that's okay. And I put out the torches I have to try and make it somewhat safer for me to sit here and work on this stuff. But let's take a look at what we got. So the first thing we're interested in is, do we have a dragon egg? I can't tell if this is male or female. I forget which. They have different horn patterns. But basically with an empty hand, sort of in the middle of the body, you got to sort of find its sweet spot. And right click to loot. And where is it? Yeah, there it goes. And right click it a couple dozen times, and there things go. And did we get an egg? Nope, no egg. So I think that was a male dragon, but that's all right. 37 dragon scales for blue. Nice dragon heart. Hearts will come in handy later if we get on into Draconic Evolution. You can use the hearts there. So yeah, some good stuff. Actually, 64 and 37, so a lot of blue scales. I gotta double check because I think this is an upgraded, I think 1.75 of Enigmatica to Expert might have an upgraded version of Ice and Fire than the one I played last time. Mostly because there are a few things like chain links that were not in 1.68, like this guy, the Iron Chain Link, which seems sort of interesting. So if we look at the uses for that, this iron chain, similar to a lead, can be tied to wall blocks, cannot be broken, can be used on most mobs. So it sounds like you could chain a mob to a wall, which could be amusing. So yeah, there's a creeper up there. So I definitely got to watch for things spawning on the walls and coming after me while I sort through this all. But yeah, no egg, but that was sort of just the first glance. So now we're going to go ahead and start digging through these couple of dozen chests, see if we find anything interesting. For those of you who haven't done this before, do keep in mind that in Enigmatica 2 Expert, the Industrial Craft 2 radiation system is in effect. So if you find any tiny piles of plutonium in a box from one of these, do not pick it up unless you have, I was going to glance around and see if I saw one real quick. I've found 3 or 4 of them so far in various layers. But they will kill you dead if you do not have a radiation suit on. And they're not too uncommon, so just something to keep in mind. They're also sort of hard to see. They're little tiny gray blobs. If we do pile of plutonium, so they don't show up very well against the background on a box, so don't break chests open willy-nilly, or you might pick one up by accident. So I usually sort and make sure I know what I'm picking up. I'm not sure I'm going to have enough carrying capacity to loot all this stuff. But we can just give you a real quick look at get some empowered stuff, which is nice. Some of the boxes are winners and some are not. I just want to give you a feel for what's in there. These are those links that were not in the last version I played of this. The fire dragon cave that I got into, which was sort of a 2-sphere lair, had had a bunch of emeralds in the walls. And here's an example of that, with some emerald ore being there. Yeah, sort of running out of space here. I might have to bind my pickaxe here and teleport back and drop off loot and come back. But let's keep looking around a bit, just to give you a feel for what we're up against, or what we're in for if we're good. Some more californium. So I now have 2 more pieces of californium. I'm going to make 2 more of those RTGs because they're really handy as sort of portable power sources. And a plutonium ingot is good. And another californium. So that's 3 more. So that's a total of 5 I've found so far. Oh boy, there's just chests everywhere. A lot of times they spawn up in the wall, so you can have, sometimes you do have to dig around for them. Emeraldic crystal block, that's 9 emeralds essentially, so that's good. Definitely want those. Black iron is sort of expensive, so I'm glad to have some more of that. One of the things I've noticed, more plutonium. One of the things I'm noticing is that the things I'm shooting are dropping their monster drops where I'm at, which means that my chest back at home is full, which makes sense because I have been shooting a bunch of stuff. Yeah, it's going to take me quite a while to gather all this stuff up, and I might have to make a couple trips. But that sort of gives you an idea of what kinds of things you might be able to find here. Hey. Oops, I think I actually, that thing I shot in the wall, I think was a dude, not a monster. Sorry, dude. An archaeologist. Oh well. Yeah, you can see there's chests up here. There's chests all over the place. Anyway, I'm going to pause here, and I will come back with more updates soon. Bye. Okay, I've cleaned out most of the area, um, and it's getting really tiring just because there's so much crap. I'm not going to try and pick up every last piece of silver, but I have gotten. Let's see, let's kill this guy real quick. I have picked up 1,400 silver. Fortunately, these piles of silver are vein mineable, and they tend to cluster. You can see a few places out there where I missed and hit the ice as well. Now I'm just sort of going through and scanning for chests to find the ones I missed. So if we do that, you can see I've got 3 or 4 over there, 3 or 4 over there. And then if we look this direction, there's actually, I've hit one, and there's another several. That does sometimes happen, is that these walls are sort of thick, and sometimes they actually spawn in the walls or on the outside of it. You can see there's some sort of action going on up there. So I'm just going to dig through here real quick and see what we're up to over here. And it could be that this is a dungeon. No, we've got more piles of silver over here, so this is just sort of a little break in it. Looks like a dungeon has intersected a lair. So that's what's going on here. See what kinds of chests we have. Yeah, it's more of the vials, so this is probably the kind of stuff I would expect to see in a dragon thing. Still got some piles of silver out here. Anyway, so just a thing, another reason I like hitting with the scanner. I do sort of want to pick up a zombie and or skeleton spawner. So if I see any evidence, it looks like spider spawner though. If I saw evidence that there was one there, I do have cardboard boxes with me that I could. I mentioned that I like the laser gun. I shoot down, mow down stuff through the wall. Let's see, what else have I got up here? This guy's got some armor on him. Let me just scan for chests again real quick. All in all, I think things are going pretty darn well. We've gotten a lot of the things that I wanted to get. I've got enough Californium to feel good about life now. Those chests in there are largely probably from that dungeon. So I'm just going to head back out here and pick up some of those ones that are in the wall over there, which I think are dragon related. Yeah, I can see one up there. I have picked up an awful lot of emeralds too, which is sort of nice. I've got fortune on my pick, so fortune 3, so that's getting me a nice amount of emeralds. Not that it's that hard to get emeralds. That's another thing you find a lot of are the rings. I don't have a ring, well, I do now have a ring of magnetization, but in fact that's going to make 2 of them, and then bands of aura. So you can find a lot of the Britannia jewelry in here too. So that's another sort of handy thing you can pick up. Wow, just running out of room. Just go ahead and... I am about done with this place though, and we'll just check out these last few chests and see if there's anything else we want. And then teleport home. Let's see, where were those other guys? There's one right down here. More stuff. Without torches, this is a bit exciting, but we'll just let's keep doing this the hard way, because why not? Gonna call that about done. And I think there was one more up here somewhere. Here we are. Sharpness 3 and XP boost 2. Alright, I'll take it. Yeah, that's going to be about it for this little adventure. So, we got a lot of good stuff here. How many emeralds am I up to? Seems like I got loads. I think I had 20-some emeralds before I started on this. So that'd be like 160 emeralds with Fortune 3 from basically this dragon lair and the fire dragon lair where I got the bronze egg. So not bad at all. Again, you know, would I do it just for that? No, but you know, when you add up the emeralds, when you add up the empowered stuff, when you add up all the potions and the magic apples, and when you throw in the Britannia gear, most importantly for me, when you throw in a bunch of nuclear craft fuel, so we got 4 Neptunium, a couple of the plutonium-238. Now the nuclear craft plutonium isn't going to irradiate you if you're on the normal settings. If you're in somebody's server, they may have turned on nuclear craft radiation, but if you're just playing solo or if you haven't messed with it, that won't. We didn't see any tiny piles of plutonium from Industrial Craft 2, but we got the bronze egg, which is fun. Just tons and tons of stuff. I'm most excited about 3 more Californium 252s to make more RTGs, because those are pretty handy. I think those run at about 750 RF per tick on this mod pack. I can't remember exactly, but you know, it's not insubstantial. Got a couple of empowered emerotic crystals, which is handy because I needed a couple of those for something I wanted. Lots of empowered stuff. So all in all, pretty darn good haul. Was it time effective? Well, you know, not probably, but but hey, what the heck? I enjoy it. I probably will do this a few more times, just because I get a kick out of it, and because I want to get more dragon eggs. But for now, I think we'll just go ahead and teleport home with our fat loots. 54 bat's wings. That's nice. Heart of Diamond. I don't even know what that is or what dropped it. Tan deathworm chitin. I did kill a deathworm, a sandworm out in the desert. Got some blizz rods. Got a few pieces of armor. So this filled up pretty bad, so that sort of limited things, but there tend to be tons of bats in those dragon lairs, so it's funny that I've got 54 bat wings, but it is actually sort of handy. If I decide I want to make any air charms, I don't need to. Wings of the bat, I don't know what that is, so I guess it's not that handy. Anyway, so I'm going to go ahead and Food. So it turned out as a little errand to just sort of run up and get some sand and some cactus. Turned into flying up there, getting sand and cactus, and fighting a fire dragon. Killed a couple of low-level dragons along the way, surface dragons. Then did a big fire dragon pit down there. Ended up picking up a bunch of terracotta here, so I should have a lifetime supply of terracotta from this mesa plateau. Then I circled back around, got a couple of ocelots so I can tame one or two into a cat for the hairball quest. I took a look at some of the jungle hives or tropical hives or whatever they're called for jungle bees for working on that apiarist's armor quest where you need the wisps for the silk, the forestry silk. And decided I just wasn't that interested in doing it. I'm not going to try and be a completionist on this run through. And then we came back down here and found ourselves, wandered back over this way, and found ourselves an ice dragon on the surface, and then that big ice dragon threefer that we just cleaned out. So all in all, that was an excellent Saturday afternoon. I thoroughly enjoyed myself. And I don't know if I'm going to tack anything onto this. I have to keep my episodes sort of shorter and keep my uploads, my weekly uploads sort of short, less of them, so I don't run into bandwidth problems again. So we'll see if I tack anything more onto this, or I might just skip to a next update. I just think that I've gotten interest in the past from people wanting to know how to fight the fire dragons. If you've been doing lots of tech type stuff that doesn't include ice and fire, it can sometimes be handy to figure out how to do that in Enigmatica 2 Expert and see what you get for it so you can decide for yourself if it's worth the time or not. Anyway, I will talk to you later. Okay, and it's the next day, and I have a couple of quick updates. So I mentioned that I went to a desert to get some cactus, so I'd have plenty of green dye. I did throw some sand and cactus in my garden cloche, and I now have plenty of green dye. So that's my cactus. And if we come over here, I did go ahead and smelt up a stack +1 of cactus green, which allows me to make things like circuit boards and stuff that require green dye. So that's good. You'll also notice I made a bunch of industrial hemp to make tough fabric. Sort of went overboard there. These wires that I'm using here, the LV and HV, or sorry, yeah, the LV and MV can be covered with fabric so that when you move through them, you don't get shocked, which I like. So here you can see these LV ones up here are not covered, and if I hit them, I take a little damage and get kicked a little back, whereas these ones here are covered with tough fabric, and so I can walk through them. So when I'm using the stuff, I like to use the MV insulated wire, so that's why I'll have all of that industrial hemp. But I went way overboard on that, but I'm going to be able to use some of the seeds also for other stuff. And then I also sort of went overboard making sugar cane. Again, that's just sand and sugar cane. I did need some sugar for something, and I sort of just left this running, and now I have lots. So anyway, getting cactus and green dye, that problem has been solved. On my way back from the desert, I stopped by a jungle and got a couple of ocelots. I did tame them. I just put them in sort of a long, narrow room, and then snuck up on them. So crouched and snuck up on them with fish in my hand. And when they came to me, I tamed them. And so now I have 2 cats, and I've got them sitting on droppers and going into chests. And that gives me balls of fur, which, let's see, I forget how you use this. You just click it? I think you might just click it. So a stack of balls of fur is going to give me this. Some feathers, some ink sacs, some strings, some meat, sticks, pufferfish, sand, um, basically all of that stuff. 1 diamond for raw salmon and 4 raw fish. So nothing amazing there. Did get 1 diamond. You can get a few other things. I did this more just for there's a quest to get ball of fur, so now I can get ball of fur. Um, but yeah, so just random stuff. And then if we take a look at sort of stuff that's in here for now. Let's see, what else did we do? I got one of these as a reward. I'm not that impressed. It's sort of okay, sort of eh. I'm moving away from the smeltery anyway. I also got one of these guys as a reward. I'd never used him before. The market. At first I set it up against a wall, not knowing that it was going to spawn in a salesperson. And he spawned into the wall, and that was not good for him. But anyway, this allows you to get some general vanilla type animal spawn eggs at the cost of emeralds, or a variety of trees, including fruit saplings. So that's nice. And then seeds also. So this is going to help me if I try to make a push for getting a lot more hearts through the Pam's Harvest Quest food variety thing. I set up a latex processing unit. I've also got a block placer here that is just placing spruce wood here into 3 tree fluid extractors. Pardon me, I have to cough. Underneath the ground, I have a sink for water for the tree process or latex processing unit, and also I have fluid ducts and item ducts to take all the liquid latex into the latex processor and move the tiny dry rubber over into a chest. So we have that going, so we've got some latex production going on. What else? I went ahead and made some mechanism universal cables, which is allowing me to take RF-based energy power out of my system and put it into, automatically convert it and put it into IC2 machines. So I moved my compressor and macerator over here and can now power them through the rest of my power generation. Pardon me, I have to cough again. All right, and I'm pretty happy with this setup. So between the macerator, compressor, manufactory, alloy furnace, enriching factory, which also acts a lot like a crusher, or pulverizer. Between this and the manufactory, I can sort of crush and double most things. The infusing factory, the osmium compressor, a smelting factory for just quick smelting of stuff as opposed to running it through the smelter or a furnace, and then a precision sawmill. Since I set up in a place without trees, other than my rubber trees over there, which I'm going to take down because they're ugly, now that I can make latex. I did run over and just vein mined a spruce forest real quick, threw them in the chest, and just processed them through a precision sawmill for a mechanism. So now I have some wood. And then last but not least, I set up the start of a applied energistics dynasty here. So we've got the charger, which can turn a Certus quartz into a charged Certus quartz. It's a good Kickstarter for getting things moving. We got the crystal growth chamber. You can not only throw seeds in here and grow them to pure crystals, but instead of throwing charged crystals and nether quartz and redstone into water and then letting it do that, you can put those in here and it'll grow it real quick. So that'll be important for automating the production of fluix crystals, and then also the making of the pure crystals. Got an energy acceptor to power all of this stuff. Nice thing about A2 stuff is that it all acts in circuit, so power coming into the energy acceptor and then everything touching it will also get power. I also went ahead and made 5 advanced inscribers. So there's 2 things I like about the advanced inscribers from AE2 stuff. Number 1, you can put stacks through them, and number 2, you can lock them so that things aren't removed by automation. So the reason I have 5 of these is I'm going to have 1 dedicated to silicon press, 1 dedicated to calculation, 1 dedicated to engineering, 1 dedicated to logic, and then this one will be dedicated to making the final products, where you take the, for instance, a logic circuit and turn it into a logic processor by putting the gold circuit up here and combining it. And then the reason I have 5 of these is that as soon as I get my ME system up and running, I can automate these and turn it all into an ME system without having to fiddle around with trying to make complicated ways of shaking these molds in and out, or these presses in and out. So it was a little bit extra time and up front making 5 of these in a row or all together, but I did get some benefit from just doing it in a batch and getting it all out of the way now. So I will reap the benefit of that when I automate this system, so that I can get automated production of logic processors, engineering processors, and calculation processors. And this will allow me to automate also the generation of pure crystals and the generation of fluix crystals. So all of that stuff will be automated when I get my ME system up and running. So that's cool. If we take a look over here, I do have another energy acceptor and 3 ME controllers. So I've made a start on that. So basically now I just need to go through and make, various panels and interfaces and storage and drives and, all of that stuff. And then figure out where I'm going to set it up. So that is in progress. Any other base changes real quick? I think that is all the main stuff. But now, this is sort of also a continuation of the dragon episode. So I noticed that I was getting some different loot, and the dragon lairs looked a bit different than they had before. And so that was intriguing. Throw that in there for right now. So I was getting some things like these iron chain links, which I'd never seen before, etc. And I did pick up a dragon egg. Well, it turns out that going from Enigmatica 2 Expert 1.68 to 1.75, that there's now a new version of Ice and Fire in here, which I have not played with before. So that is giving me the opportunity to build Dragonsteel Armor. And if we take a look at this stuff, it is really nice. So the helmet, we're talking 7 armor and 6 armor toughness. Is that what that is? The chest is 12 and 6 with a durability of 2,560 and increased protection from dragon breath attacks. And the pants are 9 and 6, and the boots are 6 and 6. So that is some nice armor for mid-game. And that stuff is made with fire dragon steel, and you can also make the ice versions of it, which the ice actually looks a little cooler. I gotta decide which I want to make. I'm just thinking that assuming this is enchantable, which I don't see why it wouldn't be, that'll put sort of that glowy kind of stuff on it. But this might look pretty good with the glow for the shimmering from enchantments. Anyway, I'll decide which ones I want. But to make this stuff, you use a dragon forge system. So in this case, what you do is you set up a multi-block structure, which is sort of a 3 by 3 by 3 cube made out of a bunch of you got to make like blocks of dragon scales and various other things. I won't get into how to build it, but you need a bunch of dragon scales and dragon hearts and yada yada. Then once you have that multi-block structure, you can take dragon blood and iron and have a dragon breathe on the forge to get the dragon steel. And that can be either a tame dragon that is in the vicinity of the forge, or you can chain a wild dragon in the vicinity of that forge. So that's pretty badass. So I want this. This is going to be my mid-game armor. Assuming that it is enchantable. So I might pop into a creative world and just grab a piece of it and make sure it's enchantable. But if this is enchantable, I want it, and I want it now. So if we take a look at what I've got, where am I? Oh, here I am. The inventory situation is getting a little out of hand, but I do have a bunch of dragon scales. I do have some dragon hearts. So basically I need a bunch more scales. I do have 2 stacks of these. I gotta decide if I want the ice dragons or fire dragons, or both. Both? Both. But the bottom line is I need a bunch more dragons scales. I need a bunch of dragon blood, which when you first kill a dragon, you can click on it with a empty glass bottle and collect blood. But for each blood that you collect, I think you get 1 less dragon scale. So that's something to consider. So you sort of need to balance those things out. But the bottom line is there's now a much better reason for me to go after dragons than just nuclear craft fuels and fun. I did learn that the Californium I got at the beginning of this episode was 252, and the RTG stuff is made with actually 250. So I've got the wrong version of Californium. But that's okay. I'll probably get some use out of that stuff when I get into nuclear craft. So the bottom line is dragon lairs are bigger. Dragons are slightly different than the last version of Enigmatica 2 Expert that I played. And that dragon armor through the Dragon Forge kicks ass, and I want some. So now I have a reason to go hunt dragons, which I didn't need much of one to begin with, because I sort of enjoy tracking them down and whacking them. So we're going to do that some more. But now that I'm going to do it in earnest, and now that I want to go kill, a dozen dragons or so, possibly more if I want to build both an ice and a fire version of the dragon forges, we need to get a little bit more organized. We don't want to run down there in the dark and deal with a bunch of extra spawns and yada and yada and yada. So there's a couple of easy ways to deal with that. There's the rare way, which is if you found a peace candle, you can just go and plop that on top of your the place that you're going to raid. But let's assume that you don't, because that's sort of only a 1 in 3 chance for only villages that have that church structure. So I'm going to assume you don't have peace candles. The other thing you can do, which is quite handy, is go with a cave illuminator and light the place up before you raid it. So the cave illuminator is from Astral Sorcery. To get to Astral Sorcery, you have to... this is a bit of a slog, but bear with me. These cave illuminators are not too hard to get to, but you do have to do some Thaumcraft first. So, you have to, of course, get your Thaumonomicon. You have to make a thermometer. You have to scan a bunch of stuff to open up research. You need to make like a research table and a rune, or a crafting thing, that green thing over there. I forget the name of it, but you guys know what I'm talking about. Let's look here. Thumbcraft. So you need to make an arcane workbench, you need to make a thermometer, you need to make a crucible, and then you need to make some nitor. So nitor is the sort of hard thing for making the cave illuminator. And if we look at the cave illuminator, you make it on a luminous crafting table, which is pretty easy. And finding aquamarines and rune marbles, pretty easy. It's the illumination powder, which requires you to use your crucible from Thaumcraft to make some yellow niter. That is the only real slogging point there. So that took me 20-30 minutes of working on that. And for those of you not familiar with what the cave illuminator does, is that anything that's underground or not exposed to the sky that is dark in a roughly I think it's a 3 chunk radius, it will try to light it up by throwing these wisps, these little insubstantial. You can't interact with them. If you put a block over them, you'll destroy them. But it puts these wisps everywhere to light things up underground. So what you can do is, I have one in my backpack. I can run around with my scanner, and I can, let's see, where did I put my scanner? La-di-da. Okay, here we go. Let's go back upstairs. So I made a few cave illuminators so I can carry them around with me. I got one above my base up there. I've got one above a dragon lair that we're about to go raid, and I've got another spare that I can carry around with me. So now I'm going to light up the dragon caves before I even go down there. So now I'll be facing nothing but the dragon, and I can loot in peace. So that's my first dragon hunting sort of luxury item, if you will. The next thing I did also, since I'm now going to be an official dragon hunter until I get my Dragon Forge armor, is that I made the Industrial Craft 2 hazmat outfit. That is for the tiny piles of plutonium that you sometimes find in the dragon stuff. Industrial Craft 2 radiation is turned on, so or at least it was in 1.68. So the scuba helmet, hazmat suit, rubber boots, I can put this on, and that will allow me to safely pick up any tiny piles of plutonium I find, which will come in handy later. So the cave illuminator, the laser gun, and the hazmat suit now makes me pretty darn prepared to go whoop a lot of dragons. So if we go take a look, let's see, grab my glider. And run over here. So basically what I did was I just started heading east and just went out a few chunks, scanning every 2 or 3 chunks, and quickly found another dragon lair. So if we take a look at what we got going on here. So this is scanning for tiny piles of gold, or piles of gold, I believe. And you can see there are lots in there. And this appears to be a three dome structure, which I think is fairly common now. So lots of gold down there. So that's what we're after. Once I saw that, I whipped out my fancy dancy cave illuminator, and I just sort of wandered off and let it do its thing. I also, for good measure, since I did have a second peace candle, I did throw that up there too. And so now we should be able to, we want to come down on the edge of it. So somewhere in here, we should be able to just dig on down. Now obviously you don't usually dig down, but I do have some limited flight, and I do have a fire charm, so if I hit any lava, that won't be too big of a problem. I also have slime boots, so falling won't be a problem. Okay, then we hit charred stone. So charred stone is our key, or if you see permafrost or something like that. So we know we are about in the area of the dragon. And if we now hit the scanner again, boom. So I can tell from this that I'm going to want to get a bit more over this way, just to get down lower before I break into the room. So we'll just come down, we'll hug the edge of the charred area. We'll scan again. We want to come in, maybe just a couple. Now we did see one wisp from the illuminator spawn up here already, but it is not necessarily the fastest process. So I'm still, have brought some torches. But now we're down around the area I want to be in, so we want to sort of just come out here a bit. There we go. And there's my dragon. We got a bronze dragon in there. It's going to be sleeping, but as soon as I hit it, it's going to wake up and start spraying fire everywhere. Another dragon hunter kit that's nice is the fire charm. I found some in chests and villages, but let's see how to make those. Those are pretty complicated to make, so I'm not going to worry about it too much. If you don't have a fire charm, and if you don't have a good bow or laser or gun or something like that, just put a piece of water back here and just run out and hit it or shoot it. And if you get on fire, come back here and jump in the water, chug a potion or eat some food. Just hit and run these bad boys. But if we look out here, you can see this place is already lit up perfectly with the cave illuminator. I just put on my F7 and I don't see any obvious places where things will spawn, even if we didn't have the peace candle. But now we're pretty much good to go. I think we can take a look at this guy. So the new change also in 1.8, if they have spotted wings, they are male, and if they do not have spotted wings, they are female. So I believe this is a male. But let's just go ahead and shoot him. This is easy peasy with the laser gun. And he dead. So that's how you do it. Steel, osmium compressor, laser gun, and cave illuminator. So now we can run out here and we own this place. Nice. So again, empty hand, sort of mid-body to loot. You can see things dropping down because I'm not standing too close. Now, if I wanted to pick up some dragon blood as opposed to dragon scales, again, I could have some glass bottles in here and be clicking the glass bottles. Instead, I'm going to keep going and get the bones, and there you go. Not expecting an egg because that had spotted wings, but bada bing. No egg, but we got a bunch of dragon scales, so that is good. And probably what I'll do, now that I think about it, is I'll take a look at my scale situation, and the scales, when you make scale blocks that are important for forge and whatnot, you have to use the same color scales. So the fire scales are things like red, bronze, green, and maybe black. Whereas the ice ones are things like white and blue, etc. So probably what I'll do is, now I've got a bunch of bronze scales, I got a bunch of red scales, so maybe if I run into a green dragon or whatever, instead of taking more scales, since it'll be a different color, I'll take blood. So that's one way to look at this. And here we go. This is ready to loot. Beautiful. And it's a, looks like it's a four sphere lair, which I think is fairly common now. I gotta find a better way to collect stuff here. A better way to collect all of this junk. The pile of gold is pretty easy if it's connected, because you can vein mine it, like so. But then collecting all that other stuff is just a pain in the ass. So I'm not sure I'm going to bother. Just grab. One of the reasons I do like to pick it up is for emeralds. But actually I got a bunch of emeralds from villages. The gunpowder from my monster farm turned into a lot of emeralds. But yeah, so here we go. We've got stuff. So now I can go through and loot all of this thing, and I'm going to need to do, I don't know, a whole bunch more dragons, like several, to get dragon forges and to get more eggs, because I want to make a couple dragons, possibly 2 or 3 dragons of each color, or I mean both ice and fire, and maybe mate some, depending on how I feel about that situation. Alright, and that's about it for this episode. So, yeah, dragons, very cool. And hopefully next time I will have an ME system up and running. I did also, on my to-do list, I got an unbreakable wand from a chest, which was nice. But then I also went ahead and made the destruction gadget, the copy-paste gadget, the exchanging gadget, and the building gadget from Building Gadgets. So now between these tools and this is also handy. If you haven't seen this, the morphing tool with gears added to it will act as all the wrenches, essentially. But anyway, now I have lots of building tools, and now I have access to better building materials than I did when I first started the game. So it's time to start thinking about aesthetics and how I want to lay out power and how I want to lay out my ME system and what kind of, nice looking base I want to build instead of just a big flat plane like I have upstairs. So I'll be working on that, also trying to figure out what I want to build. But anyway, that about sums up this thing. I really like this Dragonsteel Armor. Basically, I just need to make sure it's enchantable, and if it's enchantable, I'm all over this stuff. So probably I will concentrate on my hunting time on hunting dragons and getting my ME system set up. And then once I have this armor and enchant it, we'll go to the end and get some dragon breath so we can make, and some chorus fruit so we can make an angel ring. We get some real creative flight. Although this flying squid ring isn't too bad. It was pretty easy to build. But anyway, so that's the kind of upcoming stuff. So I'm probably going to talk to you later. Bye.